Billah wa salatu wa salam rasulullah wa ba'd. Hey. Family, friends, foes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu Alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a hella haters up in the hizzy. So, family. First of all, I want to apologize. For those of you who don't know, I was not able to stream for a while because, being in Ottawa, like if you do certain topics, they'll just block the streams. And I was getting block. Right. So I had to figure out a way how to do this stream. And we figured it out. So inshallah, just make the one that they don't block us while we streaming like they usually. Okay. All right, family. That's the first thing. The second thing, make sure you share this live because we are coming in a hot. And we got time tonight. We got time to deal with this tonight. And as y'all know, unless you've been living underneath a rug, the U.S. elections happened, and there was a medical phenomenon shortly after the elections. It was a huge medical catastrophe that was going on in the U.S. It was all over the place. I don't know if y'all know, but in case you don't know, I'm going to tell you what was happening. You see, what was happening was emergency rooms all over, the eastern states and Texas and, wherever you find, your immigrant Muslims, they were being filled with cases of torn ligaments and dislocated hips and infused vertebrae from immigrant Muslims, twitching way too hard, twitching and twerking and twirling for Zaddy way too hard. Okay, so hard that they had to end up in emergency rooms. The emergency room was just flooded. They were getting flooded. Insurance policies was going up. They were skyrocketing. And, next thing you know, Muslims are giving themselves high fives and attaboys and chopping it up, basically declaring victory because Donald Trump won. True story. But I digress. Family, in any experiment that you do, if you're doing an experiment, if you're running an experiment, there's no such thing as a failure in an experiment. Okay? If you're running an experiment, even if the experiment itself doesn't produce the desired results that you want, the information that you have in that experiment can be used to carry out your goals for the next time. So there's no such thing as failure in experiments. And some of our heroes in the past, they had experimented with this white supremacist. You have Martin Luther King, who wanted to see the moral humanity in this white supremacist, or the moral civility in this white supremacist. So he fought for civil rights. And what that experiment ended up proving was that the white supremacist is neither moral nor civil. We're in 2024, and this is what we have witnessed, no difference from 1964. Malcolm X. Malcolm X was trying to take the United States to the International Human Rights, to international courts for human rights violations. He was trying to see the human morality of this white supremacist. And what he found out is that the white supremacist has no humanity and no morality. And they continue to show that all over the globe. You don't have to look much further than what's going on in the Middle East, or Africa, or Haiti. So all of this information is valuable. It didn't make a difference to this white supremacist if you took a militant approach like Malcolm X, or if you took a pacifist, peaceful, docile approach like Martin Luther King. Both of them got assassinated for their efforts. Furthermore, there is nothing that is off the table in terms of oppression and carrying out the goals of the white supremacists to the white supremacists. They are the most evil, wicked, oppressive ideologues in human history, in human recorded history. Nobody has done more damage than the white supremacists in recorded human history. Nobody. Nobody's even come close. And it doesn't make a difference if they were democratic or fascist or communist. The end result is always the same. Carry out their goals by some of the most wicked, evil stratagem that you can think of. And it doesn't even occur to some people to carry out these things because nobody's really that evil. Okay. Who thinks to make up, for example, a race-specific virus to soft kill Black people specifically in, for example, the HIV/AIDS virus? Only these folks can think of something like that. Smallpox, only these folks can think of something like that. Now you see what's going on in the Middle East, where they are putting out these cans of food, but it's not food, to starving children and women. And when they go and open these foods, this food, it's bombs. That's how they think. So you're not talking about somebody who is a human. You're talking about human-looking people. They look human, but they're not actually human. So now, we had this election. And we talked about some of the imams and what they were saying before, and taking this overly diplomatic approach and We said very explicitly, this is not a time for being diplomatic. You have to take a very hard decision. Because if you don't, the decision will be made for you. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I know some of y'all are watching the thumbnail and you're seeing Tom Facchine in the thumbnail. Now, some of y'all, some of y'all are my day ones, and some of y'all I talk to behind the scenes. And I never talked about publicly about Tom Facchine. But those of y'all who talk to me from behind the scenes and stuff, you can put in the chat what my ideas and what my thoughts are about Tom Facchine before we continue. Just put it in the chat. What does the Feachaz think? And are any of these ideas new to the Feachaz? How long has the Feachaz behind the scenes saying such and such a thing about Tom Facchine? Just put it in the chat. If my day ones, if I talk to you behind the scenes, because I never could publicly say anything about this dude. Never. And I was tempted to many a times, okay? But I never did because, you know, y'all already giving me the reputation of being a rabble rouser and all this kind of troublemaker and all kind of stuff, right? It ain't even like that. It ain't even like that. So, before we continue, I want to read some articles, right? Because we got time. See, Brother Muhammad, I heard you mention he's a Fed once, but I missed the episodes of this content. No, I didn't mention it on an episode. I didn't mention it on an episode. Right? And what I said was behind the scenes, because y'all be asking behind the scenes. Y'all be sending me Tom Facchine stuff all the time. And I said, to me, he moves like the Feds. And to say he is the Feds, I said, to me, he moves like the Feds. That's just to me. Anybody else? I talked to Brother Muhammad Mystery behind the scenes, right? I never mentioned this in an episode. Okay? And I'm being very clear right now. I ain't got nothing to hide. I ain't got nothing to hide. Right? To me, he moves like the Feds. Because some of y'all be sharing me his stuff. And I'm like, since we're on the topic, and some of y'all, I know more of y'all talk to me behind the scenes. I tell you what I think behind the scenes. But now it's a coming out party. The backbiting has ended. It's time for some front biting. It's time for some front biting. So, Brother Titus Benjamin, come on, Feachaz, are you serious? You thought that? Yeah, I'm dead serious. And ask the Brother Muhammad Mystery how long I've been saying this for. It wasn't yesterday, it wasn't last month, it wasn't last week. I've been saying this for a long time. A long time. His movement is very sus. Yes, it is very sus. It is very sus. The way that he moves is extremely sus. The things that he says, you wouldn't think a Salafi would say stuff like this. He is the only graduate of Medina University that I have seen. And I can't think of anybody graduate of Medina University that does what he does, but can have an entire lecture on any topic and not quote a single ayat of Quran or a single hadith. I've never seen that before in my entire life. The brother has a degree in political science. Okay, political science, and he's got a degree from Medina University in Kulliyat Sharia. Sharia. He mentioned it in the chat. I'm in for a while, but I misremembered. I thought it was in the episode. Yeah, I mentioned it in the chat. I mentioned it in the chat, but I did not mention it in public because that would be fitna. That would be fitna to just, say these things. Oh, well, and even if you suspect, it's just better to hold your suspicions until clear evidence comes. And the clear evidence is here. It's here. But anyways, enough about that, family. Since we established that I did not come up with this yesterday, and my day ones have confirmed this. Since we established that, let me be very clear. Tom Facchine is MAGA in a beard. He is Project 2025 in a kufiyah. Let's be very clear on that. And he does it in a way that's way more eloquent and smooth than Danny Hagikuchu. So I want to make that very clear. Now, I know that once I said that, the trolls are going to start coming. So the mods, I need the mods to be ready because we are not accepting trolls tonight. This is a no troll free zone tonight. As soon as they come, don't give them no leeway. You can ask your question in a respectful manner if you want. And we got time tonight. We got time to deal with it. But the second you're thinking about to be up here and trolling, mods, just put an end to that with the quickness, please. And let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Brother Nuri, he says, it's not much, but I got a little suspicious when he was going deep dive into the book, The Impossible State. Didn't mention that the author, while Arab, wasn't Muslim. Oh, that's like only just like a tip of the iceberg. All right, y'all. So first, we're going to get into the articles before we get into the meat. Okay. So like I said, emergency rooms all over America were getting filled with dislocated hips, fused vertebrae, rheumatoid arthritis from all the twerking that immigrant Muslims were doing for Zaddy and them, Donald Trump and them. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember Muslims for Trump and stuff? We did a whole episode on that. Y'all remember that, right? So anyways, what happened to all those casualties of twerking? What happened to them? Y'all want to see what happened to them? Let's see, y'all. Look at here. Are American Muslims feeling buyer's remorse over Trump? Well, surprise, surprise. Trump's pro-Israel cabinet picks upset Muslims who voted for him. Reads, what is that? Reads Reuters headline from this week. It appears a range from Muslims who voted for President-elect lament that he has chosen several cabinet officials who favor strong security relations with Israel and have downplayed the rights of Palestinians. Oh, boo-hoo. Oh, boo-hoo. It seems like this administration has been packed entirely with neoconservatives and extremely pro-Israel, pro-war people, which is a failure on the side of the President Trump, who the pro-peace and anti-war movement, Ronaldo Nazarko, executive director of American Muslim Engagement and Power. Who are these people? Like, seriously, who are these people? This is too much. This is way too much. Many Trump's Muslim backers had hoped, for instance, they would appoint a Secretary of State, Rick Grenell, an official from his first administration who helped lead Muslim outreach out of this election. The pick, Marco Rubio, a comparatively conventional hawk and strident supporter of the Israeli government, seems to have rough feathers in the community. Well, yeah, don't say.
Emotional damage.
Does this mean Muslim voters were betrayed by Trump? Was his outreach ahead of the election nothing more than a cynical ploy? Cynical? Cynical? Cynical. I don't know how dumb you got to be duped by Trump. Remember we were talking about the experiment before? That there is no failure in an experiment. You just learn and you move on. This is what we learned as Black Muslims in this failed experiment, dealing with the immigrant Muslims and the white Muslims who come in and play them like the Pied Piper, like your Daniel Hakikuchus, like your Tom Facchinis, like your Eddie from the Deed shows. Just show up white. You'll be able to get all the Muslims to follow you no matter what. This is what we learned. We learned that despite the 1965 Immigration Act, which was largely enacted because of Black civil rights, which allowed the immigrants to come to the U.S. from all over the world. Because before that, who were they immigrating? They are trying to change the demographic in the U.S., so they were immigrating white Europeans. They were making all kinds of Europeans white. They made Italians white. They made Irish white. They made, who else? They made all kinds of Europeans white who weren't before white. So we were thinking, okay, we're going to have some allies when these immigrants come over. They came over with Malcolm X, rahimahullah, when he died. They said he wasn't Muslim. And all of a sudden, 30, 40 years later, they claiming him left, right, and center, including Nani Hakichu of all people. Okay? We've seen them and since COVID, mostly since COVID, invite all kinds of white supremacists to their platforms. All kinds of them. They haven't met a white supremacist that they don't like. 5 pillars. Invited Mark Collette. Okay. Shadi. shady Shadi on Musri, inviting whatchamacallit, Owen Benjamin, Eddie from the Dean Show, you know, and his undying love for Andrew Tate. This is what they do. But the second they have a cause, they expect you to drop everything. You know, drop everything in your struggle and join the Muslim struggle. What's the Muslim struggle? Anything that is not black.
Emotional damage.
And predictably, this is one of the most predictable phenomenon in human history. What did you think Donald Trump was going to do? Ray Charles could have seen this, and he's dead, and he was blind, and he still could have seen this. Like, what were you expecting? So, what we've learned as Black Muslims is that La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is one of the truest and realest du'as and statements that anybody can say. That there's no power and movement except from Allah directly. You can't depend on these people. They're depending on the enemy. And they're shamelessly depending on the enemy. And making some of the most asinine excuses to depend on the enemy. But I digress. In 2000, the majority of Muslim Americans backed Republican George W. Bush for president. The community had long been known as socially conservative and business-minded, so the GOP proved a natural home for them. But the Iraq War horrified Muslims. Why you don't say? You don't say. In the U.S., leading many of them to flee to the Democrats. What are we saying? How many decades they've been doing this, voting Democrat? The system of democracy inherently is a kufri system, and it's a wicked system, an evil system. And it's a system that we know all too well as Black folk, as a system that has always historically been used and weaponized against us. So in the US, it's never changed. Why do you have gerrymandering today in 2024? Why is there gerrymandering? Because the system is fair? Because the system is fair? Gerrymandering? If your vote really counted, you wouldn't need gerrymandering, would you? But we know all too well that they try to lump your Black communities into bigger white communities to nullify all your votes. That's our history. And in doing so, they ensure the persistent and perpetual preventing of public funds into the Black community. So Black schools all the way up in 2024 get dilapidated books, busted down schools. Like, what was y'all thinking? But anyways, let's keep watching, you. In the recent balance of conservatives and progressives about schools curricula, for example, the Muslim Americans have been standing on the same side as the Republican Party. In Hamtramck in Michigan, see, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. You wanted to stand with the Republican Party because you thought it was a pathway to prevent LGBT stuff in the schools, not knowing you might be opening up something even more dangerous than that curriculum. But I digress. The city entirely Muslim government, Mayor Amr Ghalib endorsed Trump in September, citing not just the war in Gaza, but battles over LGBTQ issues as turning point for his support of the Republican Party, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so anyways, we knew predictably that this would happen, right? But like, who is really surprised? Are y'all surprised? Is anybody watching the feature, anybody who watches the features, are any of y'all surprised? Let me know in the chat if y'all surprised that Muslims are shocked that after Muslims voted for Trump, he put a pro-Israeli cabinet in power. Let me know in the chat, y'all. Are y'all surprised? Who's surprised? So anyways, I want to show y'all something. Now remember, I ain't ever talked about Tom Facchine in my life, right? But I always thought this guy moved like the feds. And because I've seen some of his videos, I see some of his talking points. I see what he says. For example, this is just a small example, but I'm only using it because of time constraints, right? But y'all can see where I'm going with here. This one is it says 8 months ago. This video. Okay. I'm gonna show y'all something that he said 8 months ago. Y'all ready?
ADL put out a hit piece against Daniel Hakikachu, accusing him of anti-Semitism. This is an old tactic that they use to keep the conversation on anti-Semitism, to keep you talking about, well, is it true, is it not true? And it is predicated on the idea that the most evil thing in the world is anti-Semitism. Guess what? Newsflash. The most evil thing in the world is not anti-Semitism when 40,000 people are being slaughtered in Gaza. That is the most evil thing going on right now. And if the ADL or anybody thought that the rest of the Muslims would sit back and watch idly as one of our own got taken down with this smear tactic, then they have miscalculated. Any attack against any one of us is an attack against all of us. We're not going to stand for it. ADL, know your place. Everybody sees through you, and hands off Daniel.
Did you hear what he said? Family, in the chat, is Daniel Hakikachu one of us?
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye. Do you understand?
In the chat, family, is Daniel Hakikachu one of us? Yes or no?
Bruh.
Even Nori's laughing at this. That was 8 months ago, family. This 8 months. Nori says, LOL, Takiyaju, the Ayatollah of Akhrayt. Like, how slow are you? One of our own, like, and all the question marks for Voice of Islam, Ja. Muhammad al-Misri. He sounds like you're reading the script. Rafi 09. Ah, hell no.
Damn!
Daniel is not one of us. LOL, absolutely freaking not. So am I tripping? Am I the one who was tripping? That is just one 45-second clip. One. We don't have enough time to go through all the nonsense that Tom Facchine says. We don't have time for that. But this is somebody, and I'm going to reiterate this throughout this live, that has a degree in political science and Sharia. And the only reason why I use that clip is in 45 seconds, just so y'all can get the point. Roll Journal says, right at voice, the immigrants are the most gullible on such issues. They are. And they are not your allies. And Black Muslims need to realize that they're not. I'm sorry to say. They're barely your brothers. Barely. And it is because you are Black. Don't get it twisted. Let me tell y'all something, okay? See, what these folks like to do, they like to run around, make sure they have, you know, some sort of refutation of a nation of Islam and stuff like that, and say, oh, racism, you know, these guys are racist, blah, blah, blah. The nation of Islam is racist and they're not Muslim. They're always doing that, right? Just name one YouTubian da'i elite that took a hardline stance against white supremacy, the most wicked, evil ideology in recorded human history. Just name one. I challenge you. You see, when you hate somebody based upon their color or their race or whatever, this is bigotry. This is prejudice. And this is blameworthy in Islam. But it's not racism. Don't get it twisted. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he was consistently harsh in one thing and one thing only. And that is people practicing color-based bigotry and prejudice. He never, ever showed any leniency when it came to that. These folks want to give the most leniency to the most proficient purveyors of racism in human history. Forget a bigotry and prejudice. We're talking about actual racism, the belief that the superiority of one folk because they are white over another folk who they label as Black. They got all kinds of excuses for them. And they got one language for those folks and one language for you. And then they turn around and say, help us because we are the Muslim Ummah. What Muslim Ummah are you talking about? Running around talking about Muslims for Trump and stuff. You are over there with Project 2025. But it's going to, believe me, it gets worse, family. We got time tonight, family. So just hold on to your horses. It is not racism to hate somebody because they are Black. It is racism to intentionally try to usurp the people's rights, wealth, and autonomy because they're Black. That is racism, which is what these folks have been practicing for the better part of 500 years. White supremacy racism. Writing books about it, bragging about it, being proud to be racist. Proud racist. So if a black person hates a white person because of this oppression, this is not racism. This is intelligence. And if you don't believe me, just ask the Palestinian who hates the Zionist Jew because of their oppression. You can't pull the wool over black folks' eyes anymore. That stuff won't work on us no more. It's a new day. You can't pull that brotherhood card on us anymore. Either we are brothers or we are not. Tom Facchine, bachelor's in Kulliyat Sharia, talking about one of us, Daniel Hakikachu. Ayatollah Daniel Hakikachu. Okay. Ayatollah Daniel Hakikachu, family. What in the world? Anyways, I digress. Let's keep rocking and rolling, y'all. Okay. So we saw that clip. I'm gonna read something to y'all. Let me just delete some of this stuff. We'll clean this up. One second, family. Where is this thing? Okay. So I'm going to read this blog from this brother. His name is Saad Yaqub. It was written on November 7th. Okay. Look what he says. Democrats did not lose because of Gaza. The Muslim experience was a microcosm, not a cause of the Democratic Party's collapse. I have generally found that the primary reason Muslims lack any kind of real strategic thrust in their thinking is because, by the way, we've been saying this for donkey years.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
You've been saying it for donkey years, okay? Anyways, family. Strategic thrust in their thinking is because we as a people are quite prone to emotional self-congratulation. 100%, okay, confirmation bias, 100%, and treating everything as an indication of our pre-existing beliefs rather than seeing what the evidence actually entails. Okay. Now, Black Muslims, for us, because we are indigenous to the West, we have the longest history out of anybody in the West, as Black folk, as descendants of slaves, as Muslims, as a Muslim community as well, longer than anybody else in the West. Right? We've seen it all. And our issue is not so much this stuff that he is saying right here. Right? This is something that is really explicit to the immigrant community. Our issue as Black Muslims is that we put all our efforts and energy and wealth into building up other folks' communities while not dealing with our own. And everybody else is doing the opposite because we are the only community that doesn't work or move or live like a community. We know our history very, very well. We know why we don't work as a community. And for us, we cannot move the same way as these immigrants and expect to win because they are not looking for the wider Muslim community to succeed. every one of these immigrant communities are looking out for their own specific ethnic enclaves interest. So the Lebanese are looking out for the Lebanese, and the Pakistanis are looking out for the Pakistanis, and the Egyptians are looking out for the Egyptians, and the Sudanese are looking out for the Sudanese. But they do not have the wider Muslim communities' goals at heart. They come here believing in democracy because they've been told by Zaddy to believe in democracy. And remember how many times we told you, all you got to do is put a white man in a thobe and a beard, and the Muslims will follow them hook, line, and sinker. That's exactly what's going on. There's some Muslim woman influencer. How many times we told y'all that if you want to be rich on YouTube, get some blonde-headed, blue-eyed white woman to start saying, you know, Salaam Alaikum on YouTube or whatnot, and you'll be rich. Who is that Muslim influencer on TikTok? She blonde hair, blue-eyed, always talking about Islam and what Chat GPT says about the true religion, all kind of stuff. All this stuff is going viral. People don't listen to ulama anymore. They listen to brain rot. That's what they listen to. Listen to this stuff. All this brain rot stuff. We called this how long ago? So your situations, thank you. Thank you, voice of chat. Lil J, like what in the world? Please, before you share stuff like that to me, just remove me from your friends list, please. Because I will block you with the quickness. If I ever see that stuff in my feed, I'll just block you. I don't want to see it. Just because you have rotted your brains doesn't mean I have to rot my brains too. That is the quickest, easiest lick to get rich. On social media. So for us Black Muslims, you need a specific strategy for yourself. Don't make me block you, Negro. Voice of Islam, Ja.
Bruh.
He said I just sent it to you now. Negro. Oh my God. Don't make me block you, all right? I don't care how long I've known you for. Anyways. So Yasser Kai is quoting Yasser. The Democrats lost because they supported the genocide in Gaza. While it wasn't the only factor, it was the primary factor. A convicted felon, narcissistic, bombastic, egotistical, self-obsessed, lying, corrupt, bankrupt tycoon, widely despised by many, still won by a veritable landslide, even amongst the graphics that he publicly mocked and put down, not because he was better than the two candidates, but because the other candidate had the blood of hundreds of thousands of innocent people dripping from their heads. Muhammad Mr. I'll block you too. I'll block you too, Negro.
Bombastic side eye.
Now y'all are tripping.
Offensive side eye. Do you understand?
I'll block all of y'all, okay? Anyways. In the wake of the complete collapse of the Democratic Party's platform yesterday, Muslims are once again engaging in self-congratulatory, wishful thinking instead of serious analysis about what actually happened. You say self-congratulatorily, whatever, that word, okay? I know how to read. Okay, you know what I'm trying to say. Self-congratulatory, wishful thinking instead of serious analysis about what do you mean? What do you mean, Bilal? Or what do you mean, person who wrote this blog, whatever your name is? You know what he means? You want to see what he means? I'll show you what he means. One second, family. Let me get this, y'all, for you. This is what he means. Y'all want to see? About to show you. Let's switch this. Look here. This is what he means. This stuff right here. Well done, Muslims. Who do we see again, family? Look like Tom Facchine to me. Allah will reward you and bless you and multiply for you 1,000,000-fold. Ameen, 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 ameen. Sister Tika. Everybody say ameen for Sister Tika. Well done, Muslims. That sounds pretty self-congratulatory to me, don't it? That sounds self-congratulatory to you? We the Muslims, we did it! We did it! Yeah! Yeah! We won! Like, what in the hell, Cool J? Y'all can't be serious. This is a usual player. Usual suspect. Let's go back, family. The Gurans did not lose because of God. They lost because America has lost complete confidence in the party to pursue an agenda that is important to voters. Feels the party is out of touch and that it doesn't respect voters. This includes those voters who feel those things about Gaza, but Gaza is not the reason the Democrats lost. Okay? So now, we're going to listen to now what Tom Facchine and some other dude gotta say. Okay? There is so much. I mean, but I can only pick so much too, right? Because, like I said, this dude, he moved like the feds, he moved like the ops. And some of the things he says, you can't believe that is actually being said. Like, it's like, what in the world is this dude talking about? And I ain't ever talked about him before, but I'm talking about him now. One second, family. You just pull this one up. One second. Let me see if I can find. This is the one I want. Okay, one second, family. So he's on a thinking Muslim. A thinking Muslim is anyways, I don't want to talk about him too. There's too much backbiting going on. But anyways, let's watch this, family. We will watch and react at the same time. Okay? Okay, here we go. So I will speed this up just a little bit. You know, these guys talk a little bit on the slow side. So we put this to that. And then let's boogie.
So look, Jazakallah khair, thank you very much. There's a lot to talk through today. And I suppose let's start with the backdrop of the US elections. Well, at least the US elections are behind us. Imam Tom Fakini, I mean, I think you were at the forefront, I think it's fair to say, in the conversations that were had within the Muslim community about how we should proceed during those elections. And at the very base of that conversation was to punish Kamala Harris. Are you satisfied with the result and the part the Muslim community played in gaining that result?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu rasulillah. That's a great question to start out with. I think in general, I am satisfied. Why do I say that? Because my main goal.
The political science bachelor. If this is the only thing that we watch, that would be enough to say that this guy is like the option. Let me explain for some of y'all on the slower side. Okay. Over here, we tell you straight up that the democratic system in itself is inherently wicked and evil. All right. And the reality of the democratic system is to ensure that the people are pacified enough to keep giving their autonomy and wealth and whatnot to the owners and controllers of financial capital throughout the world. That's it. It is a system of oppression. It is a system that says majority rules. But the truth is, the corporate oligarchs, they are the ones who are really running things. Okay. So let me ask y'all something, okay? Kamala Harris, was she president of the United States? Yes or no? He is a political science major, not me. Was Kamala Harris the president of the United States? Yes or no? And then some of you might say, well, she was the vice president. Fine. She was the vice president. Does the vice president of the United States have any actionable power at all, except to look good if something happens to the president, like what happened with John F. Kennedy? So why exactly, when there is a war going on, it's not even a war. We don't classify it as war. Let's call it what it is today. It's a genocide. It's a genocide. It's not a war. It's a massacre. A war implies that there are two actual fighting factions. There's one faction massacring an entire people. Okay. So let me ask y'all something. Why would your strategy be to punish Kamala Harris? How does that help the Palestinian people? How? May Allah reward you and bless you and multiply for you a millionfold. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Hayakum Allah, Brother Muhammad Al-Masri. Wa fiikum barakallah, akhi. How does punishing Kamala Harris help a starving baby in Palestine. I want y'all to think about this for just a second. Let's say it's the day after the elections, and somebody gets run over by a cookie truck and dies, okay? And then he's raised up for questioning on Yom Kippur. And he gets asked about his last moments. He gets asked by his last moments in life. What did you do in your last moments? Well, I went and I voted for Donald Trump. Well, why did you vote for Donald Trump? Because I wanted to punish Kamala Harris. Because I wanted to punish Kamala Harris? And how exactly does punishing Kamala Harris help the mother who has lost all of her children in front of her eyes, the man who has lost all his limbs, the baby who was starving to death, the people in Palestine who haven't eaten food, taken a bath, slept? All they've known is absolute suffering for over a year now. Actually, you can even arguably say since 1947. That's all they've known. Pure suffering. And then Tom Facchine shows up in Palestine and says, hey guys, guess what? We punished Kamala Harris for you. If we just took this statement only this, for me personally, that's enough to say that this guy's the ops. For me personally. Because we've seen these types over and over and over and over. He's not anything original or new. That's how we're so quick. Because we know these guys. We know how they speak. We know how they act. We know how they move. We know their talking points. We know how they try to weasel and slither and slide into Muslim circles to try to be like the Pied Piper to these movements. We know their moves. So we're not speaking out of ignorance here. But we have way more than this anyway, just in this video only. And there's so much more. And not even the more recent ones, the ones before, from all the way last year. Anyways, I digress. Let's keep watching, y'all.
Or maybe start with my main fear was that the Muslim community would buckle, that they would get cold feet at the end and they would run back to the Democrats. If we were thinking and we were making up scenarios before the election happened, what would be the worst case scenario for Muslim political power? It would be to make a whole bunch of noise about punishing genocide, and then for Muslims to chicken out and to run back to Harris and to essentially give her a promotion, promoting her from vice president to president for being part of the administration that is responsible for the current genocide. That was the worst case scenario. When it comes to building power, when it comes to being taken seriously, when it comes to political matters.
This guy's a political science BA. Listen how he's talking. Does forget about his BA for a second, okay? Let's say he didn't have his BA. Let's say you didn't know anything about him, okay? You didn't know his name, nothing like that. Just based on this little segment only, which part of the political spectrum would you say that he is? Somebody put it in the chat, please. Somebody put it in the chat right now. Just on this little itsy bitsy. If you just had to take this only, which part of the political spectrum is he on? Somebody put it in the chat, please. I'm waiting until somebody put it in the chat. I'll wait for y'all, okay? We don't have to go into his degrees. We don't have to go into his, studying in University of Medina, his name, his job, none of that. Thank you. Thank you, Muhammad al-Masri. Right wing. It's very easy to see that. Right, exactly. So I'm not tripping. When we tell you these guys are mega megaphones, what we mean actually is they're mega megaphones. Okay? That's what they are. And they've been mega megaphones. No question he's right leanings. And he done been like that. But let's keep watching, y'all.
Maturation and more. And so that didn't happen. And, you even saw groups like the USCMO. Some people don't know that the United States Council of Muslim Organizations, the largest council of Muslim organizations in the US. They represent CARE and MAS and ICNA and MANA and MUNA and other major organizations like that. They released an endorsement. And even that, we have to, I think, look at where our wins are. Maybe somebody could argue that their endorsement was suboptimal. Essentially, they come out with a statement saying, do not vote for either Harris or for Trump, vote for any of the third parties. Some people would say, well, that's kind of weak. And there's an argument to that. However, I think what we should appreciate is that groups like CARE and all the other nonprofits in the Muslim space right now understand very well that their nonprofit status can be revoked under a Trump presidency very easily. And so I do respect that was not a riskless statement for them to make. It ran against something of their immediate existential interests. So I think that the fact that those major organizations came out and gave such a statement running up to the elections, and that by and large, we always knew that there was going to be some Muslims that would vote Harris. A lot more Muslims voted Trump than we initially planned for. But the fact that the major orgs that have the most credibility and represent the community the best did not buckle, I think is a huge testament to progress. I'll be, I am an optimist, but cautiously optimistic that we are starting to develop and starting to mature a little bit politically. So in that sense, yes, we punished.
Nothing he's saying right now is actually true. Okay. This is all fluff. And the numbers is telling a completely different story than what he's saying right now. And we'll get into that in a minute. We will get to that in a minute. But I cannot believe that this is a Muslim imam speaking like this right now. I can't believe it. Actually, I can. What am I talking about? I can't believe it. I'm tripping. I've been around too long. I've seen it all, bro. I'm just tripping. It's late night, man. Let's keep rocking.
Genocide. We did what we set out to do. We understood there would be risks. We understood what we were up against with the Trump presidency. We understand, the annexation of the West Bank, though it's already largely annexed de facto anyway. We understand, that Trump has terrible neocons that might, and it seems like, are having a very large influence, though Mobeen probably knows more about that than I do. There's many risks to a Trump presidency, but the greatest risk of all would be to demonstrate that we have no ability whatsoever to punish genocide, and therefore we would be sitting ducks no matter what administration was in power.
Did he punish genocide? Somebody put in the chat, please. Did he punish genocide? Inquiring minds need to know. Was genocide punished? Was genocide punished? Because inquiring minds need to know. You could arguably say the reason why this genocide was actually able to take place to begin with is because of Trump's first presidency, which gave the embassy of Jerusalem to Israel, gave them all kinds of powers, which was essentially a pathway to this genocide that we're seeing right now. So everybody's saying no in the chat. Of course, genocide wasn't punished. So what are we talking about here? How does punishing this is making, can somebody please make sense of this? But you know who likes to hear this stuff? You know who likes to hear how good we did by punishing Kamala Harris? You know who likes to hear that? Immigrant Muslims. And they even like to hear even more from a white convert like this dude. They are jizzing in their pants right now. Straight up. But I digress. Let's keep watching, y'all.
Power. So if that's my metric, then I'm saying that yes, it is the first step, and we have to be happy about that.
Imam Tom, I mean, that's really interesting, and there is this apprehension, I suppose, Mubin, in American society that yes, we punished a genocider, and certainly Kamala Harris and the Democrats perpetuated this horrible genocide. But in a sense, Trump is going to continue that with vigor. But also, Trump comes, as I think Imam.
Joe Biden just gave, like, I think it was $20 million worth of. Somebody look up the article. It happened a couple of days ago. Somebody get the article and put it in the chat where Joe Biden recently gave like $20 million something worth of weapons to Israel. So where is this punishment? What punishment are we talking about today? What punishment? Didn't they just have a ceasefire with Hezbollah, and Israel is still bombing the crap out of Lebanon with American weapons right now? What are we saying today? But I digress. Somebody put in the chat how much money Joe Biden sent weapons to Israel recently. Somebody put in the chat, please.
Tom alluded to, Trump comes with his own problems when it comes to Muslim community, especially domestically. I mean, how do you evaluate those risks that Trump may give or bring to the Muslim community?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. It's difficult. It's difficult because what we're witnessing in front of us domestically is a very large political realignment within conservative ranks. Obviously, neither candidate was risk-free. With Trump, there are challenges and opportunities for the Muslim community, both domestically and abroad, when it comes to his international agenda. It remains to be seen how many of his campaign promises translate to anything material. This, in many ways, is reflective of what happened in the first Trump.
Thank you. Royal Generals, he put it up. $680 million recently. This is how we punish genocide. So instead of 30 billion, right, they're giving 680 million. And then they lump us all in the same group, like no, you are on your own team here. You are on your own team. You're doing your own thing. You've always been doing your own thing. You never had the better interest of the wider Muslim community at hand. You always pick your political party first and then invite the Muslims to join it afterwards with all this flowery talk. But I digress. These folks, I don't understand, like, you actually, the truth of the matter is, immigrants that come here to benefit off of Western society, and they invest into the genocides that go into whatever Muslim country they're from with their tax dollars. And then they try to stop the genocide by voting. And then they pat each other on the back when a party wins or loses. Believe me, wallahi billahi talahi, okay? If Kamala Harris won, you would have seen some other Muslims talking about, we did good. We did good. Uqsam billah. Because they really believe that crap. They believe in this wicked system more than they believe in Allah. You think you're going to stop a genocide with a vote? That's not how you stop genocide. When is the last time you ever seen in human history where a genocide was stopped with a vote? Can somebody put in the chat, please? Has this ever happened? Genocide. But I digress. Let's keep watching, y'all.
Trump presidency. One of the things that's interesting in my mind, if you go back and look at the first time he won presidency and his campaigning, he ran on a platform of anti-immigration. That was really the issue that drove his victory the first time around. And a lot of what the media covered were his comments and sentiments, especially some of the more brazen, bombastic, sometimes even bigoted remarks about rapists and gang members and drug cartels coming across the border. It was that type of fear and hysteria that he drew on to build up his support base. This time around, his campaign was not centered on immigration the way it was in the past. Even the economy did not play a central role in his campaign. Arguably, one of the biggest issues he ran on was an open opposition to endless wars, in opposition to the neocon military-industrial complex. One of the biggest stories that was covered to scandalize Trump, their attempt to scandalize Trump, during the last week of before the election, were comments he made criticizing Liz Cheney, where he said, she thinks she's so tough. Why don't we send her out, give her some guns, and let's see how tough she is when she's in the middle of battle and she has guns pointed at her. And you had a number of mainstream liberal media outlets that misconstrued that comment deliberately and represented it as Trump calling for her to be killed, right? But never, obviously, it didn't move the needle a whole lot amongst the electorate. But that type of open animosity and hostility to the neocon establishment, to Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney, who he was attacking as publicly as anyone can attack. Dick Cheney was once a symbol of conservatism, virtually untouchable 20 years ago. Dick Cheney was arguably the most credible figure amongst right-wing Republicans in this country. More than Donald Rumsfeld, people on the ground, especially Heartland America, really admired Dick Cheney more than George Bush. And to see him repudiating the Bush-Cheney doctrine in such an explicit way, I think was quite shocking to a lot of people. And to see the success that he had with it, not only more broadly amongst them.
I don't know why you guys talk. Nobody was shocked about that. And nothing that Donald Trump says is, revelatory. Nothing. We said that he was going to win regardless. How long have we been saying this? We've been saying this since at least 4 or 5 years. We've been saying this, that Donald Trump is going to be. It was shortly after Joe Biden became president. We said that Donald Trump or somebody who like him will win the next election for sure, 100%. We knew that was coming. And it has nothing to do with anything that he's saying right now, because he toned on his rhetoric on immigration and all that kind of stuff. Like, what is this guy talking about? I don't know why you even speak. Didn't we mention that there was an entire manifesto, a blueprint, written up by people way smarter than us to ensure Donald Trump's next victory? One of the reasons that we said that he was going to win was because he has already has the Supreme Court locked down. He has foreign entities willing to interfere in the elections for him, like they did in 2016, and admitted it. And because the Democratic Party, they had already made a pathway for election interference when they did that, that voter suppression job against Bernie Sanders. So that blueprint was already finished. That's why Trump was out there saying that he doesn't make a bit of a difference about the votes and the vote, because he knew he was going to win regardless. He knew that. He didn't go on this campaign on himself. It was the Agenda 2025 people who did all the legwork for him. He couldn't even string a couple of sentences together in a coherent manner. Look at his debate with Kamala Harris. He's out there talking crazy. He got totally destroyed in that debate, and he still won. Is it because the Americans came out on droves in support of Donald Trump? No, it's not because of that. He got the same amount of votes in 2024 as he did in 2020. The same. Nothing changed with his votes. Nothing changed. So that tells you that less people voted for Kamala Harris this time. Black people were not voting for Kamala Harris, that's for sure. They were not doing it. And black people in general, they weren't going to vote for Donald Trump either. Muslims were going to vote for Kamala Harris. Not like they did in they're not like they did for the Democratic Party in 2020. They weren't going to do that. All of this has been in the works for years. Donald Trump never stopped campaigning after his 2020 loss. And these people in the background were making sure all the pieces were in place to ensure his win. Like Elon Musk purchasing Twitter in order to have their own specific propaganda machine for MAGA. He is the Rupert Murdoch of MAGA, Elon Musk. Surprise! So you didn't vote for a Republican Party. You voted for Agenda 2025. Let's be very clear. There is no more Democrats and Republicans anymore. This is not it. That ain't it. It may look like Democrats, it may look like Republicans, but those days are gone, and they're gone forever, never to come back. You have Agenda 2025, which is even more extreme than MAGA. And you have whatever is coming from the Democrat, whatever that will look like. And that's going to look like a right-wing party. It's not, the left wing is finished. There's right and far right now. Anyways, keep watching, y'all.
Broad plurality of the American public, but with Republicans themselves, is suggestive of really deep shifts within just conservative ranks across the board and what conservatism could potentially mean in the next 5 to 10 years. Again, there are really open questions as to how all of that's going to translate. First time around, Donald Trump did not run on his foreign policy credentials very strongly. He described the Iraq War as a disaster, but that was a sort of perfunctory comment as part of his larger platform last time around. It wasn't a centerpiece. He obviously wasn't a dove at all when it came.
I don't know what he's watching. Did y'all watch the debate he did with Kamala? Who watched the debate, y'all? Okay. Wasn't immigration one of the big things that came up in this debate? Let me rewind that again, because I must be tripping. Hold on, y'all.
Establishment to Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney, who he was attacking as publicly as anyone can attack. Dick Cheney was once a symbol of conservatism, virtually untouchable 20 years ago. Dick Cheney was arguably the most credible figure amongst right-wing Republicans in this country. More than Donald Rumsfeld, people on the ground, especially Heartland America, really admired Dick Cheney more than George Bush. And to see him repudiating the Bush-Cheney doctrine in such an explicit way I think was quite shocking to a lot of people, and to see the success that he had with it,
Nobody was
not only more broadly amongst a broad plurality of the American public, but with Republicans themselves, is suggestive of really deep shifts within
Thank you.
just conservative ranks across the board and what conservative.
Voice of Jah, a voice of Jah. That was one of the most viral moments in that debate. So anyways, let's watch and see if he says it again. I must be
mean in the next 5 to 10 years. Again, there are really open questions as to how all of that's going to translate. First time around, Donald Trump did not run on his foreign policy credentials very strongly. He described the Iraq War as a disaster, but that was a sort of perfunctory comment as part of his larger platform last time around. It wasn't a centerpiece. He obviously wasn't a dove at all when it came to his foreign policy. He's very interventionist. This time around, he's appointed a bit of a mixed bag. So I think, like I said, it's still sort of up in the air question. Even when it comes to American Muslims domestically, this time around, he ran a much more open campaign in trying to connect with the American Muslim community. He boasted his support from the Muslims for Trump coalition. He stood alongside those imams. In his victory speech, he mentioned Muslims for Trump. We have never in American history seen a president come out publicly proud of Muslim support in this way.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, is this, again, I'm not.
How is this a win? I don't understand these guys, man. Hold on, let me just rewind it again, man, because I want to see if he's saying because I must be losing my mind or whatever.
We've seen how many of his campaign promises translate to anything material. This, in many ways, is reflective of what happened in the first Trump presidency. One of the things that's interesting, in my mind, if you go back and look at the first time he won presidency and his campaigning, he ran on a platform of anti-immigration. That was really the issue that drove his victory the first time around. And a lot of what the media covered were his comments and sentiments, especially some of the more brazen, bombastic, sometimes even bigoted remarks about rapists and gang members and drug cartels coming across the border. It was that type of fear and hysteria that he drew on to build up his support base. This time around, his campaign was not centered on immigration the way it was in the past.
I don't know which campaign he's watching, man. Voice of Jah put it in the chat. It was huge. The man said they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. And that was the most viral moment in that debate. They're making songs about it and everything. What are you talking about, man? He wasn't as anti-immigrant. He was very clearly and plainly anti-immigrant. He was consistently talking about the border. And because he did like a white supremacist does, make a promise just to break it later, y'all are counting that as some sort of a win. Like what? Like who are you people, man? I'm sorry, I don't know who this brother is, but na'udhu billah. Na'udhu billah. These people, they have to taqallah with the Muslims, man. Fear Allah with the Muslims. This is insane. This is total insanity. Which campaign were you watching? Keep watching. Let's go back here, man.
Maximalist anti-Muslim bigotry materialized into or manifested into different political policies. That may not necessarily be the case. Right? I don't think people should expect all of their worst fears to come true in the next 4 years, because you never know what's going to happen with Trump, right? And you really don't know what's going to happen on the ground to destabilize.
So then why would you vote for something like that? And why would you consider this a win? The logic behind this, family, y'all got to let me know if I'm tripping. Am I losing my mind here? As a matter of fact, I'm going to put the link in the chat, y'all. Let's just watch a little bit more of this. Remember, we said... Anyways, let's keep watching.
Domestic order. because he is a bit of a chaos
much,
agent
man.
as well.
'Cause we got
It's interesting, and I think there's a lot that we can't yet anticipate. But can we focus on, Imam Tom, what Mubin raised there about Trump's foreign policy agenda? Now, it is fair to say that even in 2016, Donald Trump did talk about the globalist establishment, the liberal interventionists, and why he wanted to move away from that form of American foreign policy. And there are discussions about how when Trump was in power, he didn't start any new wars. In fact, he drew down in Afghanistan and in Syria, and he focused his attention more on the Far East rather than the Middle East, China rather than the Muslim world. I just wonder whether, if we were to draw a Venn diagram, the Democrats would be these liberal interventionists, the conservative Republicans would be these neocons, typified by Cheney and the Bush administration and others. Is Donald Trump outside of that schema in your mind, or is there still an overlap between the Donald Trump agenda and the neocon liberal interventionist agenda of the left and right?
That's a great question. And I really like the way Mubin framed everything in his last response, because I think that one of the things that we need to work on, and just thinking about for the audience's benefit here, is our imagination of what we're doing and some of the things that we have to keep track of, right? So a lot of times when
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Muhammad, may Allah reward you and bless you and multiply for you 1,000,000-fold. Ameen, ameen, ameen. ولا ترضى أنك اليهود ولا النصارى حتى تتبع ملتهم. So they will not be pleased with you, the Jews and the Christians, until تتبع ملتهم, until you follow their ways. Jazakumullah khair, Muhammad. Mr. May Allah reward you and bless you, multiply for you 1,000,000-fold. Ameen, 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 ameen. Everybody say ameen. That is probably, there's so many, because of course it's Quran, right? But subhanallah, I don't understand how people can think that these people are your friends. It don't make no sense to me. What kind of, you have a 500-year resume of utter destruction, and you still trying to befriend these people? It's not making no sense to me at all, man. It's not making no sense to me at all, man. SubhanAllah. But anyways, let's keep watching, y'all. That ayah is completely relevant. When you see folks like this Tom Facchine person trying to tell you that, yeah, the Muslims won by punishing Kamala Harris, remember that ayah. Remember that ayah. Let's keep watching, y'all.
when people they start paying attention to an election that's imminent, they are operating with a framework that is dated or does not reflect the real movements that have been happening both on the left and the right since the last time the election rolled around. A lot of the things that people brought up regarding Trump and the right or the Republican Party were valid in 2016. They weren't necessarily valid in 2024. So it's really actually essential, I would say, for Muslim political strategy to pay attention to the shifts.
Sorry, I gotta put this. But Bilal, how do we know they will behave like that? Like they have behaved for the past 500 years. Voice of just stop it, man. Voice of Islam, just stop it, bro. Stop it, man. Or I'm real gonna block you this time. I'm gonna block you from my WhatsApp, bro. Stop. Let's keep watching, y'all. You guys got jokes, man.
On the right and the shifts on the left, right? And to notice where things are headed, and that's how you are able to realize the opportunities that lay before you. Because just like Mubin said, every single thing is risk and opportunity, risk and opportunity. In politics, you deal with scenarios, you deal with risks and opportunities. There's no qat'i situation where you're certain that anything's going to happen. You really just want to attempt to steer something. It's like a glacier. it's moving. You do not have complete control over the glacier, but maybe if you put this barrier up here or you open up this pathway here, maybe you're able to shift a little bit the trajectory of the way that the glacier is flowing. So it's really interesting to see the shifts that have happened in the last 20 years on the right. I know, again, this is something Mobeen has more knowledge about, sort of the intelligentsia on the right and the different discursive movements. But to register the change from the incumbency and the hegemony of the neocons to the Tea Party movement and what the Tea Party movement did to the Republican Party, to now the current situation where, yeah, a lot of really important things that were not contested before are now contested. And even if, like, this is why it's more important to ask these questions than like, well, what's Trump going to do? Sometimes you need to go from, if you're going to like make a sequence of interventions, you have to go from something being consensus to something being contested. And then you go from something being contested to the thing that you're stumping for or advocating for.
Wallahi, ikhwan. Wallahi, billahi, tallahi. What this guy is saying right here is so scary. Do you know what he's describing right now? Where are my intelligent black folk? Where are my intelligent Muslim brothers and sisters? What did he describe right now? I'm going to give y'all a minute to tell to type it in the chat. If you got it, if you caught it. But this what he's describing is so incredibly scary, because I have no doubt that he is who I think he is. He is the ops. Minimum, he's the ops. He may be the feds. He moves just like the feds. But for sure, he is Project 2025. 100%. He is MAGA. So some of y'all are saying a bunch of babble. This guy's giving me a headache. Then you just follow the Tea Party example. The Tea Party died and did nothing. No, the Tea Party just evolved to something different. The Tea Party evolved to something different. And the fact that he mentioned the Tea Party, but what he described is the literal description of the Hegelian dialectic. Which means he is down with the program. He is down with doing these extreme moves to the right to bring the left more right. You get it? Which tells me that this guy is who I think he is. Go back and check out what he's saying. Listen to what he's describing here. Watch this, y'all.
Is flowing. So it's really interesting to see the shifts that have happened in the last 20 years on the right.
Okay, so he said it's interesting to see the shifts that are happening for the last 20 years on the right. Okay? Remember, we told y'all that these white supremacists, this is how they think. They think in 20-year blocks, 25-year blocks, right? They plan in 25-year blocks like this. They're not like us. We planning to pay rent in 2 weeks, okay? They're not like us. Okay? So 1 second, yo. This is what he said. 20 years. Okay.
I know, again, this is something Mobeen has more knowledge about, sort of the intelligentsia on the right and the different discursive movements. But
okay, so he's talking about the intelligentsia, right?
To register the change from the incumbency and the hegemony of the neocons to the Tea Party movement.
So he's talking about the neocons, okay? Because the neocons, remember, they were far right for them back in the 90s and whatnot, okay? And then from the neocons, they moved to what? The Tea Party, right? So here's the Hegelian dialectic, right? You have the neocons, you have the what you call it, liberals, and they're like, look, man, right? We're going way over here. And now there's this fight, and they come up like this, right? And then they go like this, and they go like this, and they keep going more and more and more right. That's the Hegelian dialectic. That's what he's describing here. You get it? So he knows what he's doing.
And what the Tea Party movement did to the Republican Party, to now the current situation where, yeah, a lot of really important things that were not contested before are now contested. And even if, like, this is why it's more important to ask these questions than like, well, what's Trump going to do? Sometimes you need to go from, if you're going to like make a sequence of interventions, you have to go from something being consensus to something being contested. And then you go from something being contested to the thing that you're stumping.
That's the literal definition of the Hegelian dialectic. Go look it up. Go look it up and tell me I'm lying. And the fact that he says sometimes you have to do you know how un-Islamic this is? Muslims don't believe that. Muslims don't believe that stuff. We're not doing that. That only works if you wish to shift the society into something different.
For advocating for seeming like common sense, self-evident, and these sorts of things. So the fact that the Overton window has shifted so much, specifically on Palestine, but also on the US's role abroad, is definitely an opportunity for Muslims to thoughtfully engage in. And even though there's no certainty in a lot of different directions. So where does Trump stand? Is it relevant where Trump stands? Right? That's another question. That Trump has his own agenda. Maybe he's got some donors that he has to please. Maybe he's concerned about his legacy. Maybe he's more transactional and egotistical, right? He might not have a concrete agenda. He might be feeling people out and feeling out what the public sentiment is going to be. I do tend to think my read on Trump is that Trump is more of an egotist than anything else, that he is more into himself and his own legacy than an ideologue. I do not think that Trump is an ideologue.
So you don't believe that Make America Great Again, America First, sums up an ideology. It's rather a good tactical, electoral ploy.
I think that there is a base for America First. I think that there are a lot of conservative Americans that are America First, and you could make a typology of people on the right that America First would be a subcurrent within the right. However, Trump himself, I believe, is more subject to pressure points, to what he thinks is going to be positive for his legacy, for how he's going to be perceived. He's indicated that he wants to be seen as some sort of big deal maker, right? He indicated that in his last time around. So that's the thing. If you're dealing with somebody who's not an ideologue, they're more of a transactionalist, then it becomes a little bit less relevant what their agenda is. And it becomes more relevant what pressure can you exert on that person in order to attempt to change or influence their behavior. At the end of the day, when it comes to strategic political thinking, you are attempting to change the behavior of political actors. And you need to reverse engineer, what do we have to do to achieve that X change in X political actor? So we need to think as a Muslim community now, okay, out of all the possibilities that exist, Trump could go this way, Trump could go that way, Trump could go that way. And as others have pointed out, it's not even a done deal. When Trump appoints neocons, look at what he did to Bolton and Pompeo last time. He appointed neocons and he completely undermined them, right? So some people are looking like, oh, we told you, right? Like Trump's just as bad. He appointed so-and-so. Okay, well, yeah, maybe. But chaos agent, as was being said, Trump is a chaos agent. He is extremely petty. He sets people against each other. He undermines people. This isn't arithmetic. It's not a linear sort of endeavor here. So we need to just.
Yeah, even though what he's saying right now is the realest thing he's actually said, right? Even though what he's saying right now is the realest thing he's actually said, this time around is not going to be 2016 Trump. Mark my words. Donald Trump is not running the show. That ship has sailed. It's the people behind Agenda 2025. They are the ones who are actually running the show. He ain't going to be going around firing. That's not going to happen this year. If he wants to stay out of jail and stay out of trouble and whatnot, he is going to stick with the program these people put in front of him, because these are the people that got him elected. He did not do this on his own. Right? So I want to go back to something he said in the beginning. Okay? And then I'm going to open it up, inshallah. 1 second, y'all.
A whole bunch of noise about punishing genocide, and then for Muslims to chicken out and to run back to Harris and to essentially give her promoting her from vice president to president for being part of the administration that is responsible for the current genocide. That was the worst case scenario. when it comes to building power, when it comes to being taken seriously, when it comes to political maturation, and more. And so that didn't happen. And, you know, you even saw groups like the USCMO. Some people don't know that the United States Council of Muslim Organizations, the largest council of Muslim organizations in the US, they represent CARE and MAS and ICNA and MANA and MUNA and other major organizations like that. They released an endorsement. And even though, you know, we have to, I think, look at where our wins are. Maybe somebody could argue that their endorsement was suboptimal. Essentially, they come out with a statement saying, do not vote for either Harris or for Trump, vote for any of the third parties. Some people would say, well, that's kind of weak. And there's an argument to that. However, I think what we should appreciate is that groups like CARE and all the other nonprofits in the Muslim space right now understand very well that their nonprofit status can be revoked under a Trump presidency very easily. And so I do respect that that was not a riskless statement to make for them to make. It ran against something of their immediate existential interests. So I think that the fact that those major organizations came out and gave such a statement running up to the elections, and that by and large, we always knew that there was going to be some Muslims that would vote Harris. A lot more Muslims voted Trump than we initially planned for. But the fact that the major orgs that have the most credibility and represent the community the best did not buckle, I think is a huge testament to progress. And I'll be, you know, I am an optimist.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And the numbers show the absolute opposite. Y'all want to see the numbers? Who's ready to see the numbers, y'all? Even I don't understand how he came to this conclusion at all. And somebody got to explain this one to me. 1 second, y'all. Harris and Stein tied for the Muslim American vote in last poll before Election Day. Okay? It's Middle East time. Okay? 95% of Muslim Americans plan to vote in 2022 for a presidential election, underscoring a deep political engagement. Now watch this, y'all. A large group of Muslim Americans have split on the vote between the Green Party candidate Jill Stein and Democratic Kamala Harris, according to the final national poll of Muslims Americans released before the U.S. presidential election on the 5th of November. The poll published on Friday, Council of American Care, okay, shows Stein and Harris in a statistical tie for the American Muslim vote with 42%. Now favoring the Green Party nominee, 41% backing the Democratic candidate. The poll has 2.5% margin of error. Okay. CARE also released a poll that Stein and Harris tied for the Muslim American vote with 29% of respondents saying that they plan to vote Stein and 20% planning to vote for Harris. Donald Trump is expected to take around 10% of the Muslim American vote. 10%. 10%. Let's say, for example, you took away that 10% of the Muslim American vote. No Muslims voted for Donald Trump at all. Donald Trump still would have won. Okay. So I don't know I don't understand where he's getting this stuff from. I don't know. He is the one who's a political scientist, not me. If no Muslim in America voted for Donald Trump at all, he still would have won. So what political maturity are we talking about here? Somebody, either you tell me if I'm tripping or make it make sense. One of the two. Am I tripping or are you going to make it make sense? Links in the chat, family. We're going to keep watching a little bit. One second, y'all. Let me pull up this one now. We got time tonight. I mean, there's too much stuff to talk about Tom Facchine, to be honest. Too much. And like I said, I ain't ever done any content on him before. I kept my mouth shut because I don't want to be known as the rabble rouser in Muslim YouTube. But y'all tell me if I'm tripping. Okay? Watch this, y'all. Let's switch it up a bit. Let me get this link up. Where are we? Okay, watch this, y'all. This is a different one. The real reason why Trump won, and they won't admit it. Imam Tom Facchine.
To what you've been saying and the different brothers from across the pond, but what do you think, in your opinion? I want to get your views on what's next. But before we get onto that, what's the Muslim contribution been, do you think?
Very good. I mean, it is incontrovertible fact that Palestine and Gaza were among the most important factors in this election. And in order to figure that out, you don't look at what people say. You look at where they spend their money, because politicians are liars, almost categorically, almost to a man. So they will say things in order to make you think that that's how they really feel. But they say things that are very, misdirection. Right now, that everybody's wrestling over the narrative. The Democrats are saying, no, we lost because it was the economy, or no, it was immigration, or no, it was this. Everybody's fighting over the narrative. But if you look at where they spent their money, it's no accident that both Trump and Harris spent over a week in Michigan, around Detroit. And then their very last destination was the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. Swing districts, swing states with large Muslim populations, and their mailers, the mailers that they were sending out, were explicitly about this messaging, one way or the other. The Trump campaign crunched the numbers. We found out the New York Times ran an article where the Trump campaign calculated that the undecided voters, the voters that were still undecided within the last few days of the election, were 6 times more likely to decide based off of Gaza.
Wow.
And that was completely borne out by reality. They poured their last week or their last 10 days into PR and meetings with the Muslim community. Trump went to a Yemeni cafe in Dearborn, Michigan.
Again, and we mentioned this before, that Trump essentially got the same amount of votes this time around as he did last time. And if you took away all the Muslim votes for Trump, he still would have won. And furthermore, more Muslims voted for Jill Stein. I think it was about even, right? For Jill Stein and Kamala Harris. So what the numbers are showing is that less people came out to vote this election. Not that for some weird, I don't understand this. He got to explain himself. Anyways, let's keep watching.
He went on stage and he praised Muslims and he praised Muslims and praised Arabs. He said that they're not terrorists, they're our friends, they want peace, all this sort of thing. It might all be lies, who knows? But the thing is that he tried.
He recognized that it's a formidable force.
Exactly, and it
might be lies. Might. What's going on, Mike? What you got for us, man?
Hey, how's it going? The Feachaz.
Good. What you got for us, man?
Well, I was just wondering. It's funny because I thought Daniel hated Imam Tom, he called him one of the compassionate imams in his whole, the dark legacy of the Yakin Institute. And now you showed a video of Tom defending Daniel. Also, you just now mentioned, obviously, Trump got the same amount of votes this time around as he did in 2016. So do you really think like Biden got 81 million votes, like even more than Obama, that like the electorate just didn't turn out?
I believe that. First of all,
Okay.
white supremacy in itself always has these fake fights anyways, right? So we don't really care about disputes between one far white sympathizer between a far right hider, because they do this all the time, right? And second of all, and the democratic system is testament to that. Is testament to that. This fake left right paradigm. You know what I mean? And second of all, the reason why so many people came out in 2020 to vote is because they already seen what 4 years of Trump was. They seen that. And mind you, Biden, he himself, he wasn't popular on his own. The only reason why people voted for Joe Biden is because he wasn't Donald Trump. And they expected to play play that same song in 2024. And people were just tired of it. So the people who were tired of the 4 years of Joe Biden didn't come out to vote. That's as simple as that. They were going to come up for Kamala Harris. Why would they?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, you had COVID, which kind of throws a whole monkey wrench into the whole thing. Biden ran his campaign, of course, from pretty much from his basement. Didn't really go out and just kind of said, "I'm not Trump." Trump's an asshole. Even people who vote for Trump recognize that.
They know that.
Yeah, and but then of course inflation hit, and probably a lot of things out of Biden's control, but nonetheless, and Kamala, nobody liked. They didn't like her when she ran,
in 2020, and they didn't like her now.
Yeah, they didn't like her in 2020 when she ran against Biden, and they didn't really like her as a vice president. And obviously, she got put between a rock and a hard place with a very short, let's call it a primary almost season. She wasn't elected to anything. She just kind of got thrown in the thing. But she did she took Biden's playbook and said, okay, I'm not going to go out and say too much, and let's just let Trump make an ass of himself, and people will vote for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually really funny. A lot of the right-wing media says her appearance on The View is what did her in when Joy Behar or whoever asked her, what would you have done differently? And she said, well, nothing. She didn't say,
it really has nothing to do with that, in my opinion. In my opinion, she was unpopular to begin with because of what she was doing as her time as a DA in California, right? So she was already unpopular, right? And second of all, when Biden was running, mind you, that whole process in 2020, right? Biden didn't win because he was somehow popular in the Democratic Party. The reason why he won the nomination for the Democrats is because the Democratic Party decided to run an entire coup against Bernie Sanders. He was the popular one, and they were all worried that Bernie Sanders would legally win this Democratic nomination. If you can remember, Elizabeth Warren openly came out and because they were asking the Democrats, would you support your nominee? Would you support your nominee? And they were all like saying, I'm gonna not support my nominee, because at that time, Bernie Sanders was ahead of everybody, like by far. So the whole party came and united under Joe Biden, right? to make sure that they ran out Bernie Sanders, which caused this whole. This is the catalyst that caused this whole election fraud thing. That was what caused it, right? Because the Democrats were doing it before the before Donald Trump was even saying it amongst themselves.
Sure. Well, I mean, as I remember the 2016 primary, Bernie was winning, obviously, in the Northeast states, maybe even Iowa. And then there was the whole Super Tuesday strategy. You know, Bloomberg was going to dump, $1 billion into his Super Tuesday or whatever. And who was it? Kleinberg, or the black guy in South Carolina, was pretty much the kingmaker who endorsed Biden and got him to sweep a bunch of states, I think in Super Tuesday or just before Super Tuesday. And then Bloomberg dropped out, and then everybody's just started dropping out, and they all aligned behind Biden.
Yeah. It was a coup.
Coburn. Something burn. Something begins with a C and ends with a burn.
It was a coup. But they were openly saying that they would not voice of justice Clyburn. Right. So they were openly saying that they would not support their nominee. The Democrats were doing that. They were doing that in 2016.
Sure.
Because they didn't want
that was a theme, because I think in the Republican primary, when there were 16 Republicans, and the media was trying to get all the established Republicans to hate Trump and stuff, and said, "Well, will you support the nominee no matter what?" And there was a bunch of hemming and hawing, and which, of course, it's a silly question. I don't know who the nominee is. If he's a dick, I'm not going to support him.
Points of light. What you got for us?
Salaam Alaikum.
Break salam, bro. How you doing?
I mean, I just wanted to say, I found it weird that how they made the difference. Like, historically in this country, when there's a low voter turnout, it always favors the Republicans. And I know for a fact many indigenous Black Americans stayed home.
Yeah.
Said with Biden, they didn't like Kamala. Yeah. A lot of that played a part in it. The other hand, they keep saying, we don't know if Trump will do this and that. Like they got hope in this guy that somehow he's going to defend the Palestinians from the Israelis. Like, the only thing that both parties agree upon in this country is oppressing us and standing with Israel. When has Trump ever said he was going to go against Israel? That's the only thing they can agree upon. Like, this is known.
That's the two things that has always been consistent since George Washington, right? Except for Israel, of course. Israel's in after World War II, right? But in terms of U.S. politics, this right here, this 2020-24 election, this is another huge turning point in American history, right? It's another huge turning point. And the truth of the matter is that white supremacy is in massive trouble internationally, which is why we're seeing all these far-right governments. Did you see what went on in France recently?
Yeah, I seen that. Yep.
Yeah. So now the French government is defunct, right? You have all the French colonies in Africa chasing the former colonizers out the countries. From now, the most recent one is I can't remember if it's Senegal or Cameroon. Somebody could put it in the chat, right? But you have Burkina Faso, chase them out. Niger, chase them out. Mali, chase them out. I believe Gabon is another one, chase them out. All black Africa is chasing out the French colonies, and France is about to become a third world country now. Okay. That is on the horizon, right? Trillions of dollars are going to come right back to the United States in 2025. Mark my words. Trillions of dollars are coming back to greenbacks are coming back to the United States. If you think you have bad inflation now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you see what's going to happen when those tariffs take place. You have not seen anything yet. This is a new chapter in American history, not just American, but Western history in general. Western, because in Canada, we are feeling the heat already from this election, right? So, what you were saying about black,
Yeah, I mean, I heard him on there. I heard talking about, Trump just want to be a deal maker. If he's making a deal, it's going to be with Putin and probably China to keep the
yeah,
economy
of course,
going, like you said about those tariffs. It has nothing to do with that. He mentioned endless wars. That Trump say he's against endless wars. What he's referring to is giving all that money to the Ukrainians to fight the Russians. He's not
yeah,
talking about Palestine. Like, are they that slow?
yeah. I know. The slowness is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, right? But again, for immigrant Muslims, all you got to show them is, white folks cheering them on, and they'll just eat it up, hook, line, and sinker. And that's all it is with them, right? Let white folks say something good about immigrants, and then they all for it. You know what I mean? So if you tell them, yeah, it was us, the Muslims, that punished Kamala Harris, they make this crap go viral. Like, what kind of idiot win is that? Who brags about nonsense like that, bro? You know what I mean? How does you punishing Kamala Harris help these Palestinians?
Well, from what I understood, and I watched the Thinking Muslim, Sami Hamid or whatever guy, who's apparently an international, understands international politics. I've seen, Imam Tom say different things. I think their strategy is, if they could prove that the Democrats lost because of the Muslim vote pretty much in Michigan, then they could be positioned as kingmakers in the next election cycle. Obviously, that didn't happen because not only Michigan went for the Republicans, but Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, the whole blue wall fell. And I mean, Trump won all 7 swing states. What were swing states? Years ago when I was a kid and I was voting, I'm from Florida. Florida was a swing state. Ohio used to be a swing state. But anyways, Trump won. I remember in 2016 when they called, I think it was Fox, maybe the only ones, but they called Wisconsin for Trump, at 2 a.m. I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed. He won. If Wisconsin's gone Republican, I'm going to bed, But the whole blue wall fell. So Michigan didn't get to be the kingmaker they were hoping, right? I think they were hoping Wisconsin would say Democrat, Pennsylvania would go Democrat, Philadelphia. And then maybe if Michigan could be the one tipping point that put Trump over the edge, the Muslims would be able to come out 4 years from now and say, hey, listen, obviously we got, Detroit, Dearborn, we got a ton of Muslims in Michigan. We are the ones who can make the next president, with the whole electoral college thing and stuff.
Bro, stop. But, it's not the Muslims.
Didn't happen.
It's not the Muslims that they're looking for. It's the immigrant Muslims. They want to believe that are the kingmakers. When they're saying Muslims, they're not talking about the indigenous Muslims of the land. They're talking about the immigrants, like their ethnic groups. They believe they're the kingmakers. And if this guy can see through their scheme, then everybody else can see. Because I agree with him. I think that's exactly, how they're trying to, sort of twist the narrative. Like, we made that happen. Yeah. So, I mean, if he can see through it, then, I mean, how many other people you think can't see through that? Definitely the people that are more politically savvy, like, the professional politicians and whatnot. You think they don't know that?
Yeah. 100%, man. It's delusional. It's highly delusional. And, and the delusions of grandeur are just off the chart. You get me?
Yeah. You even seen like places such as like a historical Democrat city. Like, Trump did very well, like better than any Republican in recent history over, even in cities like Chicago. So like for him to say that like the immigrant situation, like that wasn't a big deal, it was a big deal. Like many people voted for Trump because of the immigrant situation. That was like the main reason. You think like most of his supporters was out there voting for him over Gaza?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
when
exactly.
one guy, I think you said it too, when the guy's saying, well, he didn't run on immigration. Like, what are you talking about? That was like the number one thing. I mean, other than inflation, or you can put them side by side, you know, but
Yeah.
you know, you see there were, you know, town halls in Chicago where when what's their mayor, Brandon or whatever, you know, he's like, okay, we found $100 million to put immigrants in this was it the South Side Lake School or something that had been boarded up for 10 years. All right,
Yeah, South Shore.
South Shore, yeah. We're gonna rehab that. We'll put the immigrants in there, you know. And the blacks came out to the town halls and they're like, hey, we've been saying that for 5 years. Like, why can't we put our homeless vets in that? You know, everybody always wants to throw the vets in there, but you know, what where you always said we didn't have money for that. Now all of a sudden you got money.
All of a sudden you got money. Yeah.
No.
We got 2 stars in the house. We got the big star Abdullah Luxi and the star DH is an agent. Well, he would be a big star, but his camera's not on. So,
Salaam Alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Excellent. How you doing, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, Bilal. What time is it on your end, guys? It's Fajr here. What's going on?
It's late
guys
night.
up at
It's
this
late
time of the
night, bro. Yeah, man. It's almost 11 out here, man. Allah.
Allah hayik.
What you got for us, Sheikh?
Well, just from joining, I mean, you know, I just turned on my phone. Yani, just came home from Fajr, and I saw you on,
Mashallah.
and I see you talking about the high level of uncertainty that our world is going into. I mean, you see what's happening in Syria right now. I don't know if you guys have followed what happened. I mean, you know, like after years of stalling, all of a sudden, you know, the Muslims have the wind in their, you know, in their back, and Bashar has a rug pull. I mean, you can clearly see that this is, you know, something has been decided behind closed doors, and you know, we are entering a phase of great change, and we don't know what that change is going to be. And I just want to remind myself and everybody else the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam: "Ta'arraf ala Allah fi al-rakha, ya'rifka fi al-shiddah." Introduce yourself to Allah in times of ease and peace, and Allah will know you in times of hardship, in times of when matters are severe. And the other hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, "Badiru bil a'mal," proceed with deeds. Badiru bil a'mal, fitanan ka qita' al-layli mudlim. Fitan like a piece of a dark night. And really, that's what I gotta say. And you know, Mike is back to you people who know what y'all talking about.
Everybody go subscribe to Abdullah Lux's channel, man. Legend, absolute legend. DH is an agent.
Bilal, it's unbelievable, but I actually might be ready about this white supremacy stream that we're gonna do, you and me. I might be ready next week. You ready?
I'm ready, man. Do whenever you're ready, yeah.
All right,
whenever you're ready, just hit me
hear
up.
from me over the next couple of days, inshallah.
Everybody subscribe. Abdullah Luxi. DH is an agent. Go ahead, Sheikh. DH is an agent. Go ahead, Yadi. We can't hear it. Turn your mic on, man. Okay, the H is an agent. His mic has COVID, so anybody can hop in now until he's ready. Points of light. You got something for us? You too? Your mic too? What about you, Mike? You got some mic?
Oh, I can say something. I'm not sure what you want me to say.
Go ahead, Sheikh Abdullah. Okay, let's go do a quick round, and then we'll call it a night, inshallah. So we'll start off with Mike, and then we'll go to points of light, and we'll go to Abdullah.
All right, I'll just say good luck to the Muslims and uniting the Ummah again and dominating the world. Just kidding. I'm an atheist, so I wouldn't say that much. But
All
I
right.
appreciate your time.
Make sure you're on our next stream because I might have something for you, Mike.
Okay. Yeah. What was your channel?
Abdullah Deluxi. I mean, I'm not sure that will be of much interest for you, but just same as my name right here in under my video. I can't see it right now.
Abdullah, the slave of God, Deluxi.
That's right. Deluxi, which is Luxembourg. I'm a native of Luxembourg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, grew up amongst atheists while being Catholic, and found Islam in 2002, and migrated to the Middle East in 2005.
All right. Well, I will definitely subscribe and try to troll you down and
sure, anytime.
Hold your feet to the fire on killing apostates or lashing fornicators or stoning adulterers, whether or not we do the 84th book of Bukhari or 256.
Now, I'm speaking about mainly matters of strictly belief. I'm not at all talking about social issues, because very simply I feel that a lot of this is really beyond my capacity of understanding. Just like politics, I don't really talk about politics because I understand that everything is just deceit, and it's very hard to look. What we see is the Muppet Show. All right, all the elections and all these kind of things. It's just a Muppet Show, and behind the scenes, many things are happening. And my eye is not trained to see the tips of the iceberg of what's happening behind the scenes in politics. However, my eye is trained in seeing the tips of icebergs when it comes to matters of belief. And same as what we're going to be talking about with Bilal next week, inshallah ta'ala, is what is behind white supremacy. What is really the belief system behind white supremacy? Because many people believe it's either Christianity or just, atheism and social Darwinism, and that is just not correct. And there is an extremely torturous rabbit hole that I just can't seem to find the end of that thing. It's just scary, and that's really what the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Obviously, on my channel, I'm talking about stuff that is strictly linked to Islam on these kind of matters. And the people whose eyes are trained in politics can connect the dots between what I say in matters of belief and what is happening out there in the world.
Okay. The agent's an agent. Go ahead.
Naam, Salaam Alaikum.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I really appreciate our brother Abdullah, and I'm looking forward to that conversation because I think it's critical, the belief structure of white supremacy, and then trying to tie it all together. So inshallah, I'm looking forward to that. May Allah preserve you both, and it's going to be an interesting conversation.
I mean,
bro.
What I wanted to point on is, if you look at what's happening now in terms of on the left spectrum, you would believe that they would do an introspection to say, wait, how did this happen? We lost this way, we lost that way. But it goes back to the point you made. What was the name of that thing you said? Hegelian
dialectic.
Because when I read it, just as you were talking, it's weird because notice what is happening now is the left is moving more right. Almost as if saying to us, there's a higher level of truth that we don't have to worry about. And I'm sitting going, wait a minute, what? Because now there's this infighting amongst the left saying maybe we push the people too far left. So I'm starting to think, was this all a plan and a trick to begin with? Meaning you push the people so far that they now, when they come to the middle is the right, but you think it's the middle, but it's actually the right.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's when Tom Facchine was describing that, right? I was like, this guy, he's an ops. He's the ops. I'm sorry, but he's describing the Hegelian dialectic as something positive, and we don't believe in that in Islam at all.
If you look at what Sister Tika had pointed out, because the aim of the Hegelian dialectic is saying there's a higher level of truth. What higher level of truth? What are we talking about? There's the Quran, there's the Sunnah. What are we saying high level of truth? No, so it's very strange the way it's being. And you'll notice a lot of times suddenly we're very soft on people who their hatred and disdain for people of African descent is unbelievable. I mean, these people hate Black people. But you're saying to me somehow, listen, we don't ignore that, I'm like, wait, what is going on?
You're telling us to ignore that for your benefit.
How did we get to this point? Oh, but at least we are both on the same page with LGBTQ. I had to say to somebody recently, very few families are actually dealing with LGBTQ, but a lot of families deal with racism. So it's weird how we're cherry picking. Okay, we're gonna take this issue, we're gonna take that issue, we're not gonna. What are we? I'm like, wait, what is going on? It's weird. But at the end of the day, you see it on the left now, because I follow some of these channels. The ones that are pro left leaning are fighting with each other. MSNBC is having a huge problem now. The Morning Joe show, they had to go kiss the ring. They went down to Mar-a-Lago, they kissed the ring. They said, the Dawn is here. Come on, kiss the ring. Now you go back and do what you're supposed to do. They had a guy came on their show and he said something negative. They came up and they said, great people work on Fox News. I said, am I in an alternate universe? What is going on?
Yep, that's the actualization of the Hegelian dialectic. That's how it plays out.
All of a sudden, we have to think of the higher principle. I'm going, wow. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Just looking at everything, but yeah, that's what I wanted to add. That I think for those of us who are patting each other on the back as Muslims, we did this, we did that. They're not analyzing to see how they lost. They're moving over to the right more. So
yeah, that's all they're doing.
So then we should not be.
So if you're just going to be right, then why are you pitching it as Islamic then? Just
right.
Hold that crap on your shoulder like a proud badge of honor, man. But don't bring Islam into that nonsense. You dig what I'm saying?
That's the part that be pissing me off. I'm like, why not just say flat out that you're trying to lean right? To the point that Brother Mike had mentioned as it relates to Sami Hamdi, because he was on the Muslim Thinking podcast too. Sami Hamdi, and it's weird that Sami Hamdi is the one that sounds more like the political scientist than the one who has a degree in political science, Imam Tom Facchine, right? But Sami Hamdi is making the point that there's a way in which things are moving in the back door and so on. I mean, only Allah knows best, but I'm always worried when I'm hearing people give Candace Owens a pass. How does she get a pass?
Yeah, that's
How
crazy.
Does she get a pass?
That's insane, man. That's really insane, man.
Anyways, said some stuff, blah blah. Come on, man. So inshallah, may Allah make it easy for all of us. But it was good.
Yeah, don't make me block you, bro. Don't make me block you, bro. I see you in the chat. Okay, points of light. That's an inside joke. That the brother DH is an agent. He's a legend too. He's a legend. So points of light. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you talking about the guy, Tom or whatever.
Yeah.
You say he was supposed to be a political science major.
Yeah, he got his degree.
Yeah, so I mean, I was listening at the points you was making, and I'm pretty much thinking the same thing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this guy can't be that slow. Like, so, like, he has to know that.
Yeah, what he's doing, his whole plan is to put the Muslims in the right of the spectrum. That's why he's speaking the way he is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he was just doing that like out of ignorance. I think there's a plot, but he just ain't revealed all of it. So yeah, I mean, I believe that's what that is. As far as the point about white supremacy, I think it exists on definitely on both sides of each party, the left and the right. But for the life of me, like I hear like the congressmen, they all say the same thing. Like Israel has no greater friend than the U.S. We will always support Israel. They say these things like over and over again. Why do these people think that somehow Trump is the answer? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like they all say that. The people backing him, he need his party too. And his daughter's a Jew. His son-in-law's a Jew. Zionist Jews. His grandchildren are Jews. What make them think that somehow he's going to go against all of that for Gaza?
Well, all those twerking accidents that happen on election night is the reason, man. The twerking caused back pains and, the twerking caused, sprained knees and sprained ankles and, dislocated hips. All the twerking for Zaddy is coming back to haunt them. What else you want to say?
I was coming in the show. I've been on, rocking with you for some years now, and I heard you mention like several times, like many of them, their countries was colonized, and they want to be next to so-called white people.
Yeah,
and I think that has a lot to do with it. I think you can't really lace it up no other way. Like it's like an inferiority complex. They want to be next to the people in power.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, family, I'm going to call it. Thank you for my guests. I want to thank all my guests that came on. I want to thank everybody in the comments section. I want to give a special shout out to Sister Tika. May Allah reward you. Bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. Ameen. A special shout out to Brother Muhammad. May Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. Ameen. And free the land, beloved. Free the land, free the land, free the land. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.